Back in 1985, this is what downtown had become. And over the years, downtown was boarded up, downtown was burned out, and essentially downtown melted away to the suburbs. But what happened in 2009 or so, that all changed when the City Commission opted for a placemaking initiative where they said, we want to make Owensboro a place to come. The pivot put, for those of us in basketball country, the place we ground ourselves is downtown and on the river. It's an asset that most cities don't have, is that river. So they've made a commitment to downtown. That commitment is $140 million of government funding. Some of it federal, some of it county, some of it city. That's come together and has already generated $90 million in private investment. Today I want to talk to you and just give you an overview of where the entire project is, but more importantly, talk about Smothers Park, what it will look like, because that's going to open at the end of the month, and then we'll talk in detail about what that opening ceremony will look like. The first project completed was in the fall of 2011. That's Riverfront Crossing, very much like a European paseo or connection of small walkways where you can come together and gather to discuss today's events, to drink coffee, to look at the river, but just a chance to meet places for public events. It's an event space. We have held ice sculpture events in the winter there. We've had the kickoff to the downtown holiday season with the downtown stroll has been there. And oftentimes you'll hear people say, meet me under the clock tower. And that's becoming a gathering place in Owensboro, Kentucky. Secondly is our convention center on the side of the old Executive Inn, 169,000 square feet. And we're partners with the county, with Davis County on this. They have contributed $20 million to the construction of this downtown convention center that you'll see coming out of the ground very quickly. It has a river view. There are essentially 3 large rooms, upstairs ballrooms and meeting rooms, downstairs ballrooms, and we expect to attract an awful lot of regional conventions to this. That is connected by a link, and you see if you look on the side there, on the right-hand side of the street, you'll see a link where there's a pedway that will take you to the Convention Center Hotel that we'll talk about in just a second. You'll see it's got a river view, a spectacular river view. Nobody else on the Ohio River will be able to say their convention center is on the river with this sort of spectacular view. You'll notice in the lower corner of the large picture, that is the old showroom lounge. The lounge has been taken off, the platform will stay, and that will become an outside area of the convention center to which the convention center will make use of. That's a look at what the site looks like. The bottom, you see the construction going on, is the hotel. In the middle is the site for the convention center. You can start to see those 3 staggered rooms that come together to make the convention and event center a place. You'll see the showroom lounge has been cleared and is ready for future construction. And to the north, in an empty spot, we'll talk about a second hotel in just a second. The first hotel is a Hampton Inn and Suites, 150 rooms. You'll see that that large glass section is a section that overlooks the river. It looks out on the river. This isn't your normal Hampton Inns. This is an upscale, what we call Hampton Inns on steroids, much like the Hampton Inns on Beale Street in Memphis that you'll see. Construction is well underway, and you can see the girders coming out of the ground. Additionally, Holiday Inn, we've had a local developer agree to build a Holiday Inn just on the west side of the building site, so the convention center will be flanked on 2 sides by hotels. Again, you see where that site is, just the top of that screen, which is to the west of the site. We're also upgrading our streets. Veterans Boulevard will be totally pavers. You will see some of the connecting streets between 2nd and Veterans as pavers. 2nd Street down to 4th Street will be descending levels of upgrades to the street. Particularly, you'll see on 2nd Street, 3rd and 4th, changes to the intersections. Those will be dressed up, pavers, a different look, a distinctive look that tells you, once you hit 4th Street, I'm coming into downtown. There's something special here. Fredica will go all the way down to 9th Street with that distinctive look to it. Of course, you just saw in the paper today where the City Commission voted to match $7 million of bluegrass privately raised funding with $3 million of city funding to upgrade the old state office building to the new International Bluegrass Music Center. You know, there are folks from around the world that come to Owensboro for bluegrass, and we expect Owensboro to make the claim that Nashville makes for country music. We expect that to move to Owensboro, Kentucky. There's residential development. Now with the Bluegrass Museum and their $7 million commitment, we're up to $90 million in private funding that the public funding has turned around. That has gained for little old Owensboro, Kentucky, national recognition in the New York Times, and we were fortunate enough 2 weeks ago to host a city staff from Round Rock, Texas, which is a suburb of Austin that also has a small river running through it. They came to us saying they went to the Texas City Managers Conference, and the talk of the conference was Owensboro, Kentucky. So they said, we've got to come to Owensboro to see how to do this because we want to be like Mikey. We want to be like Owensboro. So that gives you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. I'm next going to ask Tony Cecil, who's our operations manager. And if anybody in city government is responsible for building Smothers Park, it's Tony Cecil. From conception to design to actual construction. Tony is a very humble man, but Tony is the driving force behind this park. And he's going to talk a little bit about that, followed by our public events director, Tim Ross, who will talk about the grand opening ceremony.
Thank you, Bill. On city staff, we always consider it punishment to follow Bill during presentations. Smothers Park, very highly publicized, very closely monitored. If you've been to Owensboro in the last few years, you've noticed that we make a big deal of Smothers Park. And we do that because it really is a big deal. This is the largest single project the city of Owensboro has ever undertaken. And I truly believe that all the good economic news, that Bill just shared with you, this has been the catalyst for all that taking place. Smothers Park is in the heart of our downtown along our riverfront. It entails a 1,400 linear feet starting at the River Park Center on the east to McConnell Plaza on the west of the most prime spot in all of downtown. We started this project in 2008. It's been ongoing for 4 years. It started as an erosion control project with the building of this wall. And what's unique about this project is the Corps of Engineers allowed us to placement of the wall that we regained all of the land we had lost over many years because of the location of the bend in the river. So we went from a park that contained 0.93 acres of land to one that now contains 3.2 acres of land. And if you include McConnell Plaza on the west, it's 5.3 acres.
Some people may not know.
I'm trying to get the lady to work.
This is the Southern Park.
So the park encompasses 4 city blocks at an average depth of like 155 feet wide. So we've expanded the park more than 4 times. We basically have it divided into 3 sections. We have the section on the east. I'll speak it over here if you can talk to me, which is Shelton Memorial. The center section, the next block, is all the Lace Day playground. The 3rd block is all the signature fountains. And the 4th goes over here where it ties back in McConnell Plaza in the overlook. I can't go into detail on any of these, but I do have some recent photographs of the progress just to kind of give you a sneak peek of what's going on. The Shelton Memorial. If you're not familiar with the Shelton Memorial, let me just tell you, it's in honor of Colonel Shelton, who is a true American hero. I don't have time to go to the story. It was covered on the national networks many years ago, so I encourage you on August 23rd to come hear his story. He's a true American hero. This monument existed at the location previously, but just to give you an idea of the changes we've made, this shot here, the expanded area in front of the memorial, originally that monument placement was 38 feet from the street to the center of the monument. Now it's 103. That's how much we expanded the space and growing our river. The biggest changes you can see is that the intention was to put it back as close as we could original. We added a couple of things on the back. We've added a 5th flag for the Coast Guard, which they do now instead, and then we've added this fountain on the back because this really is a 2-sided monument. It doesn't have a front and back door. You get an idea here of the level of design work that's taken place from the pavers, the limestone, the lighting. It's truly fabulous. These pergolas like that you see here in the foreground, they actually serve a purpose. With the full linear length of the park, there'll be swings that you can look and view the river. It was one of the ideas that came out of one of the early public meetings. People love to sit in the swings and see the river. That's a feature. The other thing you see, just the expanded space, the level of detail to the lighting, the landscaping. It's really, really enhanced that memorial, which is sacred to most of us here in Owensboro. The second area we'll talk about is the signature fountains. I'm sure you've heard a lot about those. This is the center section of the center fountain. These were designed by Wet Design out of Hollywood, California, and you've heard the story. They're the ones that did the Bellagio and those fountains. It's actually a copyrighted design. They can't build this for anybody else, and we can't be built anywhere else by us. So what's unique about this is the functions. It can be choreographed. It changes the sound and music. It's lighted. The lights are part of the design. It's all in black granite that you see there. There's no standing water. This black granite covers all the utilities of the fountain, so all you see is the water and the movement. This is the wing section of it without the granite top on it. It gives you an idea of the functionality and the things that go in there. It's just the conduits to operate these fountains was 1.2 miles of conduits that are in the ground. The second part of the fountain is the inlet water feature. Now this is 200 linear feet of a riverbank. That this is top of the bank, and it looks like that the water will cascade over these stairs and appears to dump into the river, but it's actually captured at the bottom, recirculated, and treated like a swimming pool. Here's a photo of that fountain being tested last week. Next section is the children's playground. And I want you to look at this just for a couple of seconds. This is one of the concrete trees you've all heard about, and this here shows the real function of those trees is to support these bridges and playground equipment in the park. We just made them look like trees. Now, this park covers the full city block length. You can not only transverse the bottom, but the whole thing can be linear, can travel overhead in the treetops. It's actually wheelchair accessible in the treetop. Very spectacular playground. One of the things that you'll notice is we call it the Lazy Day Museum Playground is because it's not just play elements, there's actually educational component to this. You see these larger than life creatures you have here. There's real plants, there's fake plants. It's all things that are indigenous to our culture, the type of trees, animal, wildlife. And you can go through there and there's signs that ask you to follow the gray squirrel and it gives you another one. So that can be changed with seasons. So it's not something your children will be accustomed to be changing all the time and always something new and fresh for them to see. Here's another idea, just give you a scale of what you see, the large fish. Next section we'll talk about, I'll tell you what, go back here, just one time the playground is. When you have a project that encompasses almost 4 years and you monitor that progress through driving by the parking garage, you kind of get desensitized to the changes, what's really happening. You forget the before and after. So I really wanted to throw some in there. This is the playground in Smothers Park before we started. This is the playground now. And you look at those side by side. You kind of forget what we're doing. This is a picture of this is a photo of the wall, the bank that was eroding before. This is the wall now. You look out and view the same. You see the bridge in the background. What a transformation. This is a view of our boat ramp before we started. This is a view of the boat ramp now with the infield and the element. You may notice that side by side here you see the hotel in the background that is gone, the new hotel coming up. I can tell you there won't be anything like this in a multi-state area, and just this park alone will be an economic engine bringing people downtown. So we're excited about it for good reason, and Tim's going to tell you how you can be a part of the celebration of opening it up.
Thanks, Tony. Tony is being very humble with this. The playground system, I've been down there numerous times as we look at planning for the grand opening activities, and I've got 3 very small little kids, and so I look at it from that dad perspective when you get to the playground. And numerous people throughout the community have been talking about, like, well, on top of the roof of the garage, and look to see all the progress, it looks so great. You have no concept of how big the space is and the expanse of it until you're actually in it. And I experienced that same thing months ago because I was doing the same thing as you guys, looking at the fence, looking at the garage just to see it. But now that we're planning in and construction's a little bit farther along, when you get down there, it is an enormous, it's an entire city block of playground system that goes through there. And the fountain system, it's a big area. So you're gonna be very impressed when you get out there to see it. And so my role in this with the city is planning some of the activities that are tied into the grand opening. So the first night, as Bill and Tony have said, is Thursday, August the 23rd at 7 o'clock. With that Colonel Shelton Memorial, we certainly want to take the time to honor the veterans and the POWs and the families that have paid the sacrifice for us and the freedom that we enjoy. So we've made a conscious decision that we don't want to open up the entire park space that night. We don't want it to be a big playtime for that, but we want it to be a very reverent time to honor those military folks. So we've got some involvement from Fort Campbell and the 101st Airborne that will be joining us that evening. We've also got General Tanini with the Air National Guard that will be joining us to give some remarks. Senator Mitch McConnell will be in town to participate in this ceremony as well. So the far east portion of the park, just at the Shelton Memorial, will be open that evening for that military ceremony that starts at 7 o'clock. Friday is the day when everything opens up. So when folks come down on Friday, during the day even, there'll be kind of a soft opening on Friday the 24th if folks want to get there and experience the park before it gets to be a bit of a zoo that night when all the crowds come and school gets out. But the main activities will start up about 5 o'clock. It'll be City of Owensboro night for Friday after 5, which always brings out a pretty good crowd. Fire trucks will be there, the police cars, the garbage trucks, everybody likes to see those, the kids do. So look, we've got activities that will start at 5 o'clock. Tony referred to the west side of the park, what we call the river overlook, which is the big canopy section. If you drive north on Frederica, you've got that canopy that everybody notices. That's the river overlook area. And so we'll have a live band out there. Mud River Union is a great local country band that'll be out there from 5 to 10. At 5:30, we've got a special celebration that we're going to do in this space here for the playground and the spray park. We've got some comments from the Kiwanis will be a part of that, as well as the mayor. So at 5:30, we'll have a celebratory moment to kind of kick that off and turn on that spray park for the first time. And then at 6 o'clock, we're working with some of the local media. We're at 6 o'clock, so we're going to open up and launch those fountains that Tony referred to, the signature fountains, just west of the concession building there. So at 6 o'clock, we'll do those. And then again, you've got Friday after 5 that continues. So the east side of the park, River Park Center and the patio and all the Friday after 5 activities. Louisville Crashers is the band that night. And then on the west side, we've got live music. So for the most part, from 5 to 10, we've got a 5-hour celebration that night, and we anticipate big crowds. Saturday is kind of the highlight of that, the feature, which is the Owensboro Air Show. We haven't had an air show here in Owensboro for quite some time. I'm still newer to the area. I've only been here for about a year and a half, but we're excited to bring an air show to town. So some of you might have seen around the region some of the billboards. We've got some promotional pieces that have started going out, ads in the newspaper to talk about the air show on Saturday. When we first brought it up to the community, folks were saying, what about some sort of static display where people can get out to the airport, see the aircraft, meet the performers? So we're going to do that for a few hours that morning from 8 to 11 out at the Owensboro Regional Airport. Will be the opportunity to get out and see the planes, meet the pilots, and then back downtown, starting at 1 o'clock, will be the air show. So we do have 2 different areas for that air show. That'll be viewing locations. English Park will have audio, food vendors, drinks, that kind of thing, as well as in downtown at 1 o'clock. Air show will last about 2 hours. As far as who's going to be in the air show, we've got a great skydiving team that's going to be a part of that, that's been doing this for years and years. Big POW flags, American flags, to kick off the show with the national anthem. We've got the Trojan Horsemen, which is a 6-ship warbird team of T-28s that just does a great show and kind of highlights the different branches of the military with what they do. Red Eagle Air Sports is a 2-ship demo team that just does some amazing acrobatics. We've got Red Star on the Dragon, which is a jet team. They do a kind of a scenario with the Cold War, the U.S. against the Allies against the Soviets is kind of their performance that they do. We've also got Bill Stein, who's an amazing aerobatic performer. He's been flying longer, I think, than I've been alive, and he does some amazing things in his aircraft. Then another classic old warbird, Valiant Echoes, that does a great training kind of montage to give people an idea of what the cadets, when they first came to learn how to fly, and what their experience was in this Vultee. Danny Clisham is a world-renowned air show announcer, and he's going to be on site. There's 2 or 3 of the best ones in the world that do it all over the place, and Danny's one of them. So he'll be here giving some background and commentary for us to hear in English, as well as Smothers Park. Static display, we've got a few different aircraft. We've got some F-15s that'll be on display. We've got a Black Hawk chopper. We've got the Bulldog, and I've got a couple more that we just didn't have time to get photos on of some classic warbirds that'll be on display out at the airport as well. So with the air show, we've got a couple of unique opportunities. River Park Center, we've had several people that came to us initially and said, is there an area that we can kind of get away from the crowd a little bit, rather than having to get there 3 or 4 hours ahead of time and bring all the camp chairs and the blankets? So we partnered with River Park Center, and we've got a reserved seating area there. River Park that day won't be, only if you have the wristbands will you have access to River Park, but it's a space that you can get away from the crowd a little bit. Probably some shorter lines with your food vendors, air conditioning, indoor restrooms, those type of amenities. So you can get those tickets for $20 a person. Kids 5 and under are free. We also have parking passes available for the parking garage for $10 a piece. So we've got some sponsors that'll be there, but we've got some of those on sale for the general public as well. So you won't have access to the garage that day unless you have a pass. But those reserved seating tickets and the parking passes can all be purchased at Independence Bank, any of the locations here in Davis County, as well as at City Hall. And then we've also got this. Cape Air is a partner with us in the St. Louis Airport, and they came to us right away and said, hey, air show, we want to be a part of it. And what we'd like to do is offer some sightseeing flights and do a contest for that. Probably a lot of folks in the community would love to get up in a plane for 15 or 20 minutes and fly around and get an aerial view of what Owensboro looks like these days. So they're doing a contest right now. If you go on to OwensboroAirshow.com, you see that little kind of symbol off to the right-hand side. You can click on that and name, address, phone number, normal information, and you can sign up for a chance to win. They're going to give away 12 pairs of tickets, and they'll do those flights on Saturday morning, the 25th, out at the airport. And so 12 folks will get a chance with them and a companion to get up and get an aerial view of Owensboro. So those are the activities that we've got that are tied into the grand opening. And again, we're excited about the park. It's going to be just a great space. We've already had several events that happen regularly in the community, like the Making Strides Walk and some of those that want to move their events to Smothers Park and bring it downtown once they've seen that space. So it'll have regular programming once we get going, but this is the kickoff weekend, August 23, 24, and 25.